Today I'm joined with Rebecca Kacaba, who's the co-founder and CEO of DealMaker. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
You know, it's been such a great event. I saw you moderate a panel. I know you've got your own coming up tomorrow. I want to dive a little bit into what DealMaker is, and here's why. I think, when I started investing in the public markets, I loved making money, learning about that, but I wanted to, I think it was an IPO, say Alibaba or something.
Yeah.
And I wanted to find a way to get into companies before they went public. And I feel like that's a problem that DealMaker is, solving here. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a desire of so many people. It was a desire that I had as well. And Congress really saw that, and they implemented legislation 10 years ago that said, look, we want to diversify the capital markets. We know that retail is going to form a bigger component of it, and they should be allowed to. Why are we going to block retail out of the most exciting investment opportunities? We all know a balanced portfolio includes alts, and so we've got to let people have access to that. And so that's what really DealMaker does today. And it's interesting, it's taken off so fast because there's this emerging trend in the world where the best businesses want to have this one-to-one relationship with their consumer base or their fans or whatever you want to call the group around the business, right? Yeah. Like you've got Taylor Swift out there and she has these nuggets that she's feeding to people and they're involved with her brand and they're making guesses and they're posting online about it. That's how she builds an incredible brand, is that interaction with her community. And so really savvy CEOs today know that their business is online, regardless of what you do. It's a digital world. And so to the extent that you can create that one-to-one relationship using perks and using equity ownership and get people invested in your business, you're just going to become more successful.
One of the words I've heard you say quite often in interviews and articles as well is like the word community and followers, right?
Yeah.
One example is you work with the Green Bay Packers to, when they wanted to raise funds for their new stadium. You guys helped them raise over $65 million there. And it was the average fans that were able to be a part of that, right? But you've said this often, where time kills all deals, right? And because there's a lot of friction, paperwork involved, and all that. How is DealMaker making it easy for the average John and Jane Doe to invest in the companies that they truly believe in?
Yeah, I love that phrase. I'm glad you took that from me. I thought I was taking that from you. But I believe that. Like I saw that in my law practice for 10 years, right? Time kills all deals. You get people excited, and then all of a sudden they're not as excited. Some other investment crosses their plate. And so what DealMaker does is really keep people focused on the val prop of what that business is doing. I love what we're doing in sports, and that's just such an up-and-coming area of investment as well. We just helped the Oakland Ballers max out their campaign.
Oh, really? Wow.
In such a short amount of time. They raised their max limit because they had such a passionate fan base in Oakland. They didn't want to lose another sports team from that community. And so what they did was really fund the team from the community and give them voting interests and say, the same concept that works in Europe in a lot of sports teams, and say, no, the fans are an owner of this team and they're going to have a say in what we do. And that, I was out there like a month ago, and that community is so excited about what that team is doing.
Yeah.
I see big things for them.
I remember when I purchased my first share ever, it was with Apple, and I felt like an owner because that's technically what you are.
Yeah.
I can't imagine watching Sunday Night Football, watching the Green Bay Packers, and pretending like, I can't believe they missed that pass, just because you're an owner. You're like invested in that. So that's exciting stuff for the community. I want to talk about Proven Skincare. They're a company that went on Shark Tank, didn't get a deal that they wanted, but they were able to raise over $2 million with your all's platform as well. We talked about how the average John and Jane Doe can get started investing as well. How are you making it easy and seamless for companies to be listed on DealMaker as well?
Yeah, I love Proven Skincare. I love seeing a female founder get funded that way. That's near and dear to my heart about what we're doing in the space, because over, less than 2% of VC funding goes to women and minority founders. Over 30% in digital raising goes to women and minority founders. So that's amazing. So if you look at it, we were talking about on the panel this morning, how every offerings community is different, right? So you've got Miso Robotics disrupting the fast food chain. Yeah. And their investor profile is very wide and varied because we all eat fast food. We all know how disruptive it is to automate restaurants. And that, if you compare it to what the Monogram CEO said about his average investor, they skew much older because they're doing knee replacement technology, and that is a different community that identifies with that technology. Yeah. So to me, the Proven story is, look, she's doing something incredibly disruptive and innovative, bringing AI to the skin makeup and skincare industry. We all know how big big that industry is. Just because 5 people or sharks aren't in on that kind of thesis doesn't mean that's not a good business. And she's proven that by raising $2 million from a community who is in on that thesis and who loves that thesis.
Yeah. My favorite thing about that story is also because, oftentimes I will watch Shark Tank and I'll be like, man, I would love to invest in that. Thanks to DealMaker, people were able to invest in proven skincare as well. Speaking of the average John and Jane Doe, let's talk about what the minimum requirement typically is. I'm sure it depends on the company and the type of raise they're doing.
Yep.
So we'll put an asterisk on that. But like the average investment requirement for people to get started on DealMaker, what would you say that is?
Yeah, so we leave it up to the company. Typically, they set a $1,000 minimum.
Okay.
And typically, the average check size across the platform is about $3,600. But we'll see people come in digitally, invest $50K, invest $250K. A lot of the folks here at this traders conference have been doing that. They got a lot of money that they're eager to put into investing. So that's really the opportunity that we see is people can buy that kind of investment now in an alt that they previously couldn't have access to.
And what type of companies are able to kind of list on DealMaker? Is it like the mom and pop stores with 1 or 2 restaurants, or like what type of companies can get on DealMaker?
So typically, we're helping them set up a white label store very similar to Shopify. So they skew a little bit older, more mature, say like Series A and beyond. Companies with an established brand, companies that know their digital footprint, looking to expand their digital footprint, those types of things. The types of industries, very similar to what you'd see on NASDAQ, a lot of tech, robotics, real estate. A couple consumer-facing brands is strong as well.
Yeah, one thing that I remember reading in the notes was, for example, in college, I would love to sell on eBay. That's how I paid for college tuition and things like that.
Love
but
the
it would
hustle.
be heartbreaking. Yeah, you got to do it. Ramen wasn't great for my health. But, it would be so exciting to sell something on eBay.
Yeah.
But it'd be so deterring when the funds wouldn't go through.
Yeah.
Or when the sale would get canceled as well. And the reason I bring that up is because you guys have the lowest failed payment rate amongst your competitors as well. What are you doing different that makes it more secure and more established for people to know, hey, this investment, it's safe, it's gone through? More than the competitors.
I mean, honestly, I think it comes down to being tech geeks. We're like fastidious about the technology. We're always trying to make sure it works better.
It's always the nerds that make it on top.
Yeah, that's it, man. And I have no shame in saying that. So I think we're really focused on making the technology super streamlined, work well, convert well. I think investors also get a lot of assurance from the companies because they're a little later stage. They have revenues a lot of the time. And we're doing all the background checks before the companies get listed. There's a rigorous diligence process. Then we're doing rigorous diligence on the investors as they come in too. So it's a two-way street. So I think people like to see that and know that and get to know our brand in the space as the back end. They have some comfort in that.
And then are there any other advantages to whether you're investing from the retail side on DealMaker or whether you're listing on the DealMaker website? Any other advantages that you have amongst your competitors?
Yeah, I think we sit in a different place in the market. I like to say DealMaker has no competitors. I'm thrilled that there's a digital ecosystem building. I think it's great for the capital markets in general that more people are raising retail and understanding that it's a really important part of their capital stack. I think what we're really focused on at DealMaker is helping founders. And that is our sole customer. Yeah. We are not trying to pitch their investors. We think founders have the hardest job in the world already, and we just want to be there to support them on their capital raising journey. And so our entire tech stack is built around that and really helping them communicate with their community, build the right community, and making this as successful for them all the way through their IPO and then beyond as well.
Yeah, I had a chance to interview Monogram's surgeons who use the technology as well, and so it's incredible because they're a publicly traded company, but they raised funds before they got there. So that's a whole separate journey that they went through.
Yeah.
And if Mesos Robotics figures out how to fix the ice cream machine, I think they'll make a lot of money as well.
I totally think so. But I love what we hit on in the panel this morning when Ben said, I identified with it because I initially was selling into like large old enterprises, like the big Wall Street firms. And what we found was the companies really wanted the technology. So we ended up going direct to the companies. And what Ben's doing, having a community who's saying, we want this knee replacement technology, is helping the surgeons adopt. Because that's how you cause change, right? Even Elon Musk struggles with getting his rockets through regulatory approval. Like if he could could have the world saying, guys, approve this. We want reusable rockets. The world would be able to advance its technology faster.
Yeah, and especially with the world advancing in terms of AI or robotics, you're able to get invested in companies before they go public or whatever their journey may be. I think it's interesting because I think, my final thought on it is I was under the misconception of, hey, you have to be rich and powerful and have the network to be invested in these companies before they go public. But it looks like DealMaker is kind of solving that problem.
Yeah, man, we're just implementing what Congress said.
There you go. You're following the law. No one wants to get knocked on the door with the SEC. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. That is Rebecca Kacaba, who is the co-founder and CEO of DealMaker.